Hi again. So if you tuned into the last vlog that I did, which was recorded a few minutes ago, but it may not show up in your reality right away, I started reading some of the journal entries that I've been doing lately that I'm going to go ahead and call them channelings, not like it's extra special or I'm extra unique, but it's something that's been coming through me onto the pages, and they have meaning and significance to me, and I dare to believe that they aren't just for me, that we're all experiencing a lot of the same things. And if I'm able to feel them and embody them and articulate them and express them so that others can receive the benefit of having some of that nebulous stuff put into more concrete terms, to be able to grasp it, to be able to begin to examine and perhaps reconcile it, then I'm willing to take the risk of appearing to be grandiose so that somebody can get a benefit. I'm going to share with you the one that I wrote. This one was written on November 11th, 2020, the year that shall go down in infamy as the great catalytic transformative year. I'm hoping I can actually see and read my own writing, because it came out fairly quickly while I was transcribing. And they all begin with "Dear Soul," because it's a very personal, intimate kind of writing. I believe I have an intimate connection with all that is. Call it the divine, call it source, presence, God, great spirit, she, he, it, whatever works for you. It doesn't matter what name we use, what title we use. The important thing is to become aware of the connection that is consciousness itself, that is everything everywhere, manifested in a multiplicity of human forms and otherwise, such that everything is God, Godding in that sense. So yeah, you, everyone is a dear soul. So let me just read the thing to you. Dear soul, I see you. I feel your trembling heart, your whirling mind, your churning gut, and your shaking knees. I know you imagine yourself to be a shell of your former self, maybe hollow, depleted, swaying in the wind. I know you feel bruised from the weaponized words, scraped raw by the accusations, and gutted by the cruelty of one who doesn't know you. Your wound is still raw, ripped open and gaping, laid bare for all to see. You imagine this to be your weakness, this vulnerability, but I'm here to tell you that it is your strength. You could have looked back, you could have lashed back in attack, but you reached out with compassion. You could have curled up in a ball of shame, but instead you reached out for support. You could you could have shut down in self-protection, but instead you revealed your pain, voiced your shame, and allowed yourself to be held by a community you've collaboratively cultivated. And notice that slithering voice that sneaks in, the one that says, yeah, but these people don't really know you. You fooled all of them. You're an imposter. Recognize that voice for who and what it is. You know who said that to you. And now you get to ask, is it true? And now you await the answer. Receive this. You know who you are. You have been truly you, consistently you, resiliently you, your entire life. You have known truth intimately as an entity, and you have revealed yourself openly and honestly. You are not capable of fooling others, and certainly not the many who spontaneously and generously showed up to support and encourage you. You reaped what you have sown. When you give from your heart, because you can't not, others give from their hearts in return. Let this in. Let this land. I am here to remind you that you asked for truth at all cost, and you meant it. And it has and shall always be both costly and priceless. Those who seek after truth are few, and the journey is both lonely and arduous, but the rewards are great. You asked for this. You signed up for this. And dear soul, you keep forgetting this. Bless the one who has ripped open your wound, for it was festering underneath the scab. In revealing the infection, you can now tend to it, bringing a deep healing that previously wasn't sustainable. You are now ready for that healing. But do not imagine that your heart will be free of the scar tissue. The depth of the pain matches the depth of your love, and they shall coexist like intertwined lovers in your heart. Remain open, remain unguarded, remain vulnerable, for this is your true strength. Keep loving something fierce. Love, spirit. This came on the heels of a public open attack that started out odd and became oddly personal in a post that I had written promoting my art classes, that which I do for income. It was quite personal. I do not know this person. It was based upon this person having heard and believed rumors from many years ago about the manner in which I divorced, the way in which I left a dead marriage, and how that was misconstrued and used against me. And it was painful to have this person throw it back in my face the way that they did. It felt very personal, and it was the catalyst for me to do a lot of work right on the spot. And the next day, when I was able to take it to a very gifted therapist, I'm just going to say her name because if you're looking for someone who can do deep inner work and go to the root cause of whatever you're dealing with, rather than just putting band-aids on gangrene, which I do not recommend. If you're looking for someone who is competent and capable of doing that deeper kind of root work, I recommend Jennifer Aria Harris Keller. You can find her on my Facebook friends list. Jennifer Aria Harris Keller. She and her husband Kavala are both very gifted in the modalities that they both have trained in and train in. Tremendous work. I've rarely come across one, much less two in a couple, people who are that gifted, and I'm grateful to be working with both of them. Currently working with Jennifer right now. So yeah, just a plug for her work. She does mind clearing, emotion clearing, and trauma clearing. And when I bring up trauma, I often get this immediate lashback of, oh, no, you don't understand. I didn't have a traumatic childhood. My parents loved me. I was well taken care of. I had all of my needs met, et cetera, et cetera. And I believe you, I do. Not all of us had what's called type A abusive trauma. Many have. I'm talking things like physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse. Type A traumas are indeed very wounding and devastating. But there's There's also a type B form of trauma, which is not the bad things that did happen to you, but the lack of the good things that you needed to have happen to you. This would be in the form of neglect, of parents who are overwhelmed and stressed, just trying to make ends meet. We live in a culture where it requires both parents to go to work, to be able to pay the bills and the rent and clothe their children and feed them and do all of those things in the name of love. They are working sometimes more than one job each to be able to provide for their offspring. But what this does when the child then is put in daycare, which our society considers to be a normal part of human behavior, when that happens, no matter how good those caretakers are, and there are some excellent ones, and bless you for doing this much needed job. However, even the most well-intentioned, well-educated, well-equipped caregiver cannot give to that child the attention, the attunement, and the attachment that the child needs for healthy development. It isn't possible. And that can cause trauma. Having parents who argue, parents who divorce, parents who are just too stinking stressed to be able to give out of themselves to the child, that causes trauma. It can be a simple little thing, such as a mother being too busy to pay attention to what her child needs to say to her because she's busy fixing their dinner, and she says, "Not now, I'm busy." And the child interprets that as, I don't matter, I'm not important. Our brains are wired to latch onto the one negative out of 10 positive things and to form a conclusion. So it's not what once happened to us that continues to hurt us in our current adult life. It's what we concluded, what we believe about ourselves or the world around us, about life itself, that causes us to continue to be hurt now. So again, it's not what happened to us that continues to hurt us. It's what we believed about ourselves or life during the thing that happened to us that continues to hurt us. So to keep it kind of simple and succinct, we have been believing lies about ourselves since earliest childhood, when we had no ability to rationally conclude what was going on. We didn't have the ability to say, "Oh, Mom had a hard day at work. She's stressed. It's not about me. It's fine." We didn't have the mental capacity to do that then. In the first 7 years of life, we are little emotional sponges. We're in our narcissistic age of development, and we make everything about us, the good stuff and the bad stuff. And again, because of our wiring need for survival, our brain will latch onto, and remember the negative over the positive. Yep. And if we happen to be a highly sensitive person, meaning not that we're emotionally unstable, but that we're wired to be profoundly emotional and intuitive, so that we pick up on what's around us more strongly than someone who's not strongly sensitive. So you could have two children in the same family. One of them is highly sensitive, the other is not. They both experience the same thing. The one that is not highly sensitive will shrug it off. It doesn't have an impact. It doesn't get in. They don't even pick up on it. But the one who is highly sensitive could be terribly wounded by what they experienced and the conclusion that they formed. So the deepest form of healing, no matter which modality is used, is when we are able to find the root cause of the presenting problem, whatever is affecting us in our current now life, finding the root cause of that, unearthing the experience that happened, look for the conclusion or the lie that we have believed about ourselves or about life. Hold that up to whatever source of higher truth you happen to have in your life. some form of divinity, your own higher mind, whatever it is, and allow that source of truth to tell you, is this true? That I am worthless, unlovable, inadequate, unimportant, that I don't matter, that there's something wrong with me, that I'm damaged, that I'm broken, that I'm not worthy of love. Whatever the child, little you, concluded and have believed since then. And then we take that, because it is so painful, because that conclusion, that belief, that lie that feels like truth to the child is so painful, we bury that in our subconscious. And we will guard ourselves from facing it. In fact, we believe it's true, and we will defend it up and against anything that comes to the contrary. And then, because we believe it's true, and because our brain likes to be right, that subconscious thing, we will look for a repetition of that same thing in our life. So if our core wound is one of rejection or abandonment, we will actually seek out situations and relationships in which we will be rejected and abandoned, because it's familiar, even if it's painful and dysfunctional. And while this looks like a huge, horrible, tragic setup, it's actually a benevolent invitation for healing, because the part of us that loves us so much that it wants us to come home to ourselves will cause these triggering experiences and relationships to step on, stir up, trigger that thing that we've repressed, so that it can come up to the surface, so we can look at it and face it and feel it and deal with it and embrace it and heal it, so that we no longer have to be triggered by that thing. Life itself, in cahoots with your soul, the part of you that loves you so much, will actually cause you to have these experiences over and over and over, which is why we say things like, I wrote, why does this keep happening to me? Why does this keep showing up in my life? Why do I keep experiencing this same thing over and over and over? Different face, different location, different person, different situation, same conclusion and experience. It's because you're not meant to live with a lie. You're meant to have that lie exposed and replaced with truth. And the truth, the experiential truth, not the mental truth, not the conceptual truth, not the I'm going to think about it in my brain truth, but the re-experiential feeling of it down here in the somatic gut. Replacing the lie, the experiential lie, with experiential truth will eradicate the lie. I've experienced this personally. There are several modalities that are very useful for this. Hypnosis, theophostic, sometimes EFT. Let me think of some other ones, that shamanic journeying, and the mind clearing, emotion clearing, and trauma clearing work that I referenced earlier that Jennifer Aria Harris Keller does. No Band-Aids on gangrene are going to do it. We have to go after the gangrene, and we have to remove it and have it healed. And we all deserve that. We deserve so much more than just the belief that the best we can get is to cope better with whatever the pain is. We deserve to be set free with the truth. And when that happens, it's gone. It's maintenance free. It's not something you have to repeat affirmations about. There's no maintenance required. It's gone. And you don't struggle again. Sure, you can remember the history of the things that happened to you, but the charge in them, the painful hook, that part that lodges in your shadow and runs your life from the subconscious, and you're thinking it's fate, that part is gone. The charge is gone, and you're free to live your life. You're free to respond in the present moment rather than reacting to the pain from the past. And I can't encourage all of you enough to go after your own healing, to make it, God, there's nothing more important. And knowing what I know about human development, while this looks like, oh, what a horrible thing, can't we just get really good parenting and a really good society so that we can raise a generation that doesn't get traumatized? And I don't know if that's ever going to happen, not with our current means of human development, because we are wired as children to be those little emotional narcissistic sponges that form conclusions about all the stuff that happens to us, good and bad, and to really focus on the bad to survive, and to form false conclusions because we can't help it about what happens to us. It looks to me like that's plan A, that we are, I don't know why, we are intended to be wounded in early childhood and then to come into adulthood ready, able, and capable of dealing with those things. And we become stronger in the process. And we have a choice, of course. We can continue to put all of our energy into repressing, suppressing, denying, or mentalizing, thinking about our feelings, those painful feelings, or we can recognize each trigger as a benevolent invitation to do healing. And the really cool thing, if and when you are triggered, what that means is your soul is telling you that you're ready to do that work, because it wouldn't come up otherwise. So I wish you the most benevolent outcome in your own healing journey. And if I can be of any help with the modalities I personally know, or if I can steer you into a direction with someone else who's equally or more qualified, then I would be happy to do so. I am passionate about healing, becoming whole, or more realistically, recognizing the wholeness that we already are. We just need to remove the layers of lies and false conclusions that would tell us otherwise. Thank you again for listening. I bid you a most blessed healing.